there taking great adventures right now. I'm here with, well, I consider you an adventure expert, with Lin Morel. Hi, Lin.
Hi, how are you
Welcome
today?
to Sizzle in the Middle.
Hello, ladies.
So, I love this. Lin she's got the most amazing stories. And first, let's tell people what you do. How do you describe yourself?
Well, it's kind of indescribable, but the best I can say is that I help people break through to brilliance in their lives.
There you go.
So that life is one big adventure, and I help people live theirs to the fullest.
Is she not the perfect guest for the show? I love it. So you help them break through to brilliance to have adventures. How do you do that?
Well, everybody's different, but I can give you how I got to it in a nutshell.
Okay, good.
If you can imagine a little girl, chubby, 16 years old,
Yeah.
can't chew gum, walk a straight line. I got dragged to judo lessons by my sister. I was the designated chaperone. 49 years later, I still practice, and I've been in love with the martial arts and what it's taught me all those years. And I've discovered that it's not so hard to look at life as an adventure. And for me, my first adventure was being dragged out the door by my parents to do something I didn't want to do, but I got so caught up in it that it took me over, and I found something that taught me discipline and focus and how to take risks. And I'm not a risk taker by nature. I was a bookworm.
And you have to tell them about you're a black belt, right? But you were telling me about the high heels and the kickboxing stuff. So tell them that.
Oh my gosh. Well, I went from being a size 16 to about a size 6, and I was a nationally ranked karate champion, which is hard to believe at my 4'5.5". I ran a karate school as a hobby with my husband.
Oh my goodness.
And I was invited to China in the 80s when they first opened the doors. They had a Goodwill martial arts store. But lately I sprained my ankle, so I can't kick, and for my new website, I'm going to have like the dimensions of myself. My dear late husband used to say I was a Renaissance woman, which is somebody who does lots of things. And so in my speaking and training life, I look one way. In the ring, I look another way. And then in everyday life, I look another way. And so how can I, and how can all of the listeners, integrate all those aspects of self?
Isn't that interesting, this whole notion of being Renaissance people, a Renaissance woman, it's going on many different adventures. It's having adventure ADD.
Exactly.
Okay.
But here's the thing.
And you just advise that? I mean, do you prescribe that?
It's ADD with a purpose, though.
I love it.
Because if we look at, I like to look at women and men and everything in our world as a diamond. And a diamond is multifaceted. So for many years, I only had one facet that was polished, and that was martial arts. I was also a petrochemical buyer, and I bought everything from pipes, valves, and fittings, and then I worked at Giant Stadium, and I helped build the Giants locker room.
I can't keep up with you.
That was another facet called business. And then the current business I'm in, I started 29 years ago, which is executive coaching from the breakthrough to brilliance, so that everybody has something that they came in with that's theirs to do. It's their unique diamond self, I call it. And so why don't people find it?
And you were saying, because this is all about midlife adventures, that to talk about that, about at midlife, what you say happens, and this whole notion of compression.
Well, by the time you're at midlife, at least in my life, it started earlier, but definitely at midlife, my second husband died in a plane crash. My first husband didn't get along with me about how our daughter was raised, so it was very, very rocky for her and myself and him. And then my home burned down shortly after my second husband died. So
these are those other kind of adventures that we go on.
The ones I wouldn't particularly want. But the beauty is that when you embrace it all as an adventure.
Yes.
It's like, oh my God, because when my house burned down, I ran a retreat center. It was corporate during the week and more spiritual or personal growth on the weekend. The wives would come dragging their husbands who didn't want to be there. And then they would see value and take me back to their companies. So the women, God bless women, because they got the multidimensional, multifaceted thing. But in that place of compression, because diamonds are born in great fires of life, and the ones that come from the deepest bowels of the earth are extruded through these little tunnels, and they don't turn into ashes like a coal. It can be a diamond or it can be ashes.
Okay.
But for me, when I looked at it as an adventure, then I could rise above the trauma that was in my face.
So do you think in midlife that you said that we have more compression, right?
Well, the hormones are going off on us. Our children are generally leaving the nest if we have them. If we haven't had them, we're wondering, maybe we should have. We have careers. Maybe we've just done, because it's a time where, people generally take stock in their life.
Yeah, and so with your background and this breakthrough to brilliance, what can people do to really maximize this time of life and really make it the best adventure? What do you recommend?
Well, I think first to know that our life is what we have in the moment.
Okay, that's
Most
good.
people say, well, when I retire, then I'll do this, that,
Exactly,
and the other thing.
exactly.
And when my husband passed away, I found 92 pages of single-page notes about his books that he never had tomorrow to do them. He was going to wait till he retired.
Oh, he was waiting.
And so all of us don't know when life is going to compress us so much that we're off the planet.
Yeah.
And so why wait? We do it, we sacrifice ourselves for our children or our spouses. But sacrifice doesn't have to happen. I willingly chose certain things over other things earlier in life. But now that I'm going to be 59, it's like
59.
It's how can I
amazing.
Share my gifts, the wisdom that every woman by midlife has, and to answer your question, to recognize that you're here on the map of your life, and if you want to go there, you have to be honest about where you're starting to have a straight trajectory. So the question I say to people is, what truth aren't you willing to tell yourself about your own life? And when my second husband passed away, and he died in his own plane crash, and then my home had burned down just before that, what we did as our adventure is we said, okay, there's nothing to be done here. We took 3 weeks. We went to New Mexico. We had an adventure where we got still in nature and thought, well, this chapter of our life is done. What's next? And out of that next came some new business ideas. He reinvented himself. And actually, he reinvented himself to buying and selling old airplanes and ultralights, which ultimately took his life. But I have to say, when he would come down, he'd go, oh my God, being up there with just me and the propellers over my head like a little helicopter, it's like I touch God.
I think I think it's so interesting for us to realize when we have those moments. And just like I was telling you earlier about my experience in this class I went to and how I walked in, and it's a new path for me, and it felt like going home. It felt so right, and recognizing that and saying, I need to pay attention to this.
And
right?
You're so right about that, because so often, and I'm guilty as charged on this one, I tend to look at the past.
Yes.
Well, I remember when I had this wonderful husband or this wonderful retreat center, and then I worry about the future, so I'm missing right here, right now. That's the only place adventures take place. Otherwise, you miss them.
You know what? That's a great insight. Yeah. So adventures take place right here and right now, which is what I actually do write a lot about, because I'm finding adventures in the moment as I just live life, rather than people think that adventure means, okay, you've got to plan this trip.
No,
because you're going, and that's good too. But realizing that adventures come in all shapes, sizes, and packages.
Exactly.
Lin Morel, this has been incredible. And tell us where can they find you?
Well, they can find me at linmorel.com. So it's LINMOREL.
And we'll have it on the screen for you,
just like the mushroom.
And then you do breakthrough to brilliance, and you guide people, you coach people on that.
I have a coaching program.
So you are kind of an adventure coach.
Totally, and my clients come from all over the world. Matter of fact, I was a few minutes late because one called from London this morning.
What a life she leads! You really are a true adventure goddess, and I can't wait to have you back. And because there's also, you have this other component with all the I don't want to say. It's not psychic. You don't consider it psychic.
No.
Intuitive.
I would say it's intuitive.
So you do intuitive coaching as well.
I do intuitive coaching and
we've got to talk about that too next time.
That's really fun.
I love it. So everyone, thank you for watching. Thank you, Lin Morel. I'm Tracy Pattin, and go out and adventurize your midlife.
And start right now.